Just going to read a little bit here on chapter 1 of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Early physicists divided the world into matter and thought, and later matter and energy. Each member of those pairs was considered to entirely separate from the other. But they're not. Nevertheless, the mind/matter duality shaped our early worldly view, that reality was essentially predetermined and that people could do little to change things through their own actions, let alone their thoughts. Fast forward to our current understanding that we are part of a vast, invisible field of energy which contains all possible realities and responds to our thoughts and our feelings. Just as today's scientists are exploring the relationship between thought and matter, we are eager to do the same in our own lives. And so we ask ourselves, can I use my mind to create my reality? If so, is that a skill that we can learn and use to become who we want to be and create a life that we want to experience? Let's face it, none of us are perfect. Whether we'd like to make some changes to our physical self, emotional self, or spiritual self, we all have the same desire. We want to live lives as an idealized version of who we think and believe we can be. When we stand in front of the mirror and look at our love handles, we don't just see the slightly too pudgy vision reflected in the glass. We also see, depending on our mood that day, a similar fitter version of ourselves or a heavier, chunkier version. Which of these images are real? When we lie in bed at night reviewing our day and our efforts to be more tolerant, less reactive in person, we don't see the parent who lashed out at the child for failing too quietly and quickly submitting to a simple request. We envision either an angelic self, those whose patience was stretched like an innocent victim on the rack, or a hideous ogre laying waste to a child's self-esteem. Which of those images are real? The answer is all of them are real, and not just at those extremes, but an infinite spectrum of images ranging from positive to negative. How can that be? For you to better understand why none of those versions of yourself is more or less real than others, I'm going to have to shatter the outmoded understanding from the fundamental nature of reality and replace it with a new one. This sounds like a major undertaking, and in some ways it is, but I also know this: the most likely reason why we are drawn to this book is that our past efforts to make any lasting changes in your life, physical, emotional, spiritual, have fallen short of the ideal of yourself that you imagined. Now, why those efforts failed has more to do with your beliefs about why your life is the way it is than anything else, including a perceived lack of will, time, courage, imagination. Always, in order to change, we have to come to a new understanding of self and the world so that we can embrace new knowledge and have new experiences. That is what reading this book will do for you. Your past shortfalls can be traced at their root to the major oversight you have committed yourself to living by the truth that your thoughts have consequences so great that they create your reality. The fact is that we are all blessed. We all can reap the benefits of our constructive efforts. We don't have to settle for our present reality. We can create a new one whenever we choose to. We all have the ability because, for better or worse, our thoughts do influence our lives. I'm sure you've heard that before, but I wonder whether most people really believe this statement on a gut level. If we truly embrace the notion of that our thoughts produce tangible effects in our lives, wouldn't we strive to never let a thought slip by that we didn't want to experience? And wouldn't we focus our attention on what we want to experience instead of continually obsessing about our problems? Think about it. If you really knew that this principle was true, would you ever miss a day in intentionally creating a desired destiny? Welcome, bros. So we're just going to cover chapter 1, chapter 2. We're going to start covering a couple of my favorite books. The first book we're going to cover is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I'm not going to cover every single page, but we're going to scan through the pages and just kind of zone in on some important points, because I think just reading that first extract, life is responding to your thoughts and feelings. Life is responding to your thoughts and feelings. And if you reflect on your day today, you can look at it in two different perspectives. You can look at it through one lens, being the optimistic, or you can look at it through the other lens, being a pessimistic. And I think a lot of us fail to realize how powerful it is when we shift from a state of fear to a state of love. there are thousands of biochemical changes that happen in the body when we go from fear to love. And many minds aren't aware when they are marinating in a state of fear and when they're kind of basking in a state of love. We don't really have that self-awareness. So we kind of are then programming unintentionally, this flight or fight response to govern our moods, our propensities, our behaviors, our attitudes, our reactions to the world. And we sit there and we go through the motions and we start to program the subconscious. So then the outcome of that is the person that is sitting here right now is responsible for everything that you're experiencing in your life, right? As the formula goes, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of the way you think, the way you act, and the way that you feel. So by not having the awareness of how your thoughts and feelings communicate, not only to your body and your physiological responses, but to life. Life is responding to that. If you truly get it, then you will be the gatekeeper of your thoughts. You will really, really start to pay attention to the thoughts that invoke and conjure the right spirit to really kind of vibrate at your potential. And if you don't have that as self-awareness, then we're, I guess, just a victim of circumstance, right? So I'll keep reading here. To change your life, change your beliefs about nature of reality. I hope this book can shift your view on how our world operates, convince you that you are more powerful than you know, and inspire you to demonstrate the understanding that what you think and what you believe has a profound effect on your world. Until you break away from the way you see your present reality, any changes in your life will always be haphazard and transitory. You have the overhaul your thinking about why things happen in order to produce an enduring and desired outcome. To do that, you'll need to be open to new interpretations of what is real and true. To help you shift into this mode of thought and begin to create a life of choosing, I have to begin with a little bit of cosmology, the study of the structure and dynamics of the universe, but don't be alarmed, we're merely going to skim through it. The nature of reality 101. And how some of our views about it have evolved to reach our present understanding. All of this is to explain of necessity in a brief and simple way how it is possible that your thoughts shape your destiny. This chapter just might test your willingness to abandon ideas that have in a sense been programmed into you for many years, or on a conscious and subconscious level. Once you gain a new conception of the fundamental forces and elements that constitute reality, it won't fit into your old perception in which the linear and orderly rule the day. Be prepared to experience some fundamental shifts in understanding. Now, this is very important because if we don't really ingrain and hardwire the truth, not just the truth, but the mechanism of reality, we're perceiving the reality through this outdated perception that really is expired. It's almost like you're down the aisle about to pick a product, and that product is expired. The shelf life is expired. And just like our perception, some of our perceptions are so outdated that we're not really perceiving reality from a higher awareness to really tune in to the mechanism of reality so we can be in more control of our lives. Hey, Cezi, the book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So I'm just going to scan through. We're going to cover this book, for the next few weeks, just scanning through the chapters. I am a little bit cold, Chi-Town girl. It is freezing in Melbourne. It is freezing. So now, in fact, as you begin to embrace this new outlook, your very makeup as a human being will change. It is my wish that you will no longer be the same person you were when you began. Obviously, I'm about to challenge you, but I want you to know that I'm entirely empathetic because I too had to let go of what I thought was true and to leap into the unknown, to ease into this way of thinking about the nature of the world. Let's see how your worldview was shaped by the early belief that the mind and matter were separate things. Hey, Flyma, how you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in, man. All right, so then we go on to page 6, always matter, never mind, always mind, never matter. And I'm just going to scan through this until I find a really good extract. Now, this kind of goes into where Newtonian physics. So Newtonian physics is... So Isaac Newton in the early 1900s, I believe, came out and said the universe is like clockwork, right? It's like cogs that fit into this machine, and it's almost like so automated that there's no need for spirit, essence, energy. It all can be kind of worked out within this machine-like structure. But this couldn't be far more from the truth, because the universe isn't like a machine with cogs. There's an element of spirit, there's an element of essence, there's an element of quantum physics. But Isaac Newton didn't want anything to do with that, so he said to the church, you take the spirits, you take the spirit, you take the soul, you take energy. I don't want to do anything with that. Then Rene Descartes came out, this French scientist in the early 1900s, and validated everything Isaac Newton said. So you're sitting here today, and the perception that you have is because of these early pioneers of evolution has shaped the collective consciousness to perceive reality in a certain way. Now today you have people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Peter Crone, and quantum physicists come out to say, hold on a minute, the universe isn't like this cog machine-like structure. There's an element of quantum physics, there's an element of energy, there's an element of electromagnetic energy, and without consciousness, there would be no matter. Consciousness is rendering reality, consciousness is shaping reality, and they're co-mingled in this cosmic dance, which we call our life. So you can't have one without the other. And now people are becoming more universal rather than religious, in my opinion, because religion is a great guideline. It's a great structure for people who kind of invest in a belief system, but it's more a subscription than a manual of the universe. Religion doesn't give you a manual of the universe. Religion doesn't give you how things work. It just tells you, if you don't believe in this, this is going to happen, and they generally put fear into you, and they have a guideline, right? Now, I love all religions. I'm open to all religions, but I also feel that once you go down that rabbit hole, you start seeing things on a more universal level, right? And a universal level is integrating Newtonian physics with quantum physics and all the different amazing philosophers that we had, and just being open-minded to all the knowledge and insight that we have available to us, and then fine-tuning your perspective to that, right? So we talk about here about how, essentially Descartes started his belief system that was imposed duality between concepts of the mind and matter. For centuries, that division stood as the accepted understanding of the nature of reality, helping perpetuate Descartes' beliefs were experiments and theories by Isaac Newton. So you can see how these two philosophers and, mathematician, scientist, Newton has shaped this old school view. That's why a lot of people don't believe in energy. A lot of people don't believe in quantum physics. A lot of people don't really have the, understanding how your thoughts and feelings are communicating to the greater intelligence. Life is responding to your thoughts and feelings. People don't really truly get it because, generationally we've been kind of, shaped in our perception that way. So it kind of talks about that. Then it talks about Einstein. Okay, about 200 years ago after Newton, Albert Einstein produced his famous equation, E equals mc squared. That's energy equals mc squared, demonstrating that energy and matter are so fundamentally related that they are one and the same. So this is where our perception starts to change through Newtonian, from Newtonian physics to Einstein physics, right? Then this directly contradicted Newton and Descartes' work and ushered in a new understanding of how the universe functions. Einstein didn't single-handedly crumble our previous view of nature of reality, but he did undermine its foundation, and that eventually led to the collapse of some of our narrow, rigid ways of thinking. But some people are still stuck in this thinking. You know these people I'm talking about. They're so old school that they believe everything the media says. They believe everything that is presented to them. They don't question anything, and they just think this is just their life, one chance sort of kind of mentality, and that's it. That couldn't be far more from the truth. This isn't just one life, one chance. There is a parallel, infinite spectrum of lives happening. Every choice is dictating a different timeline that is perpetuating a different trajectory for you to live in. Every thought, every feeling is commanding changes in your body, shifting your electromagnetic broadcast, rippling a different energy into the universe, and what you're experiencing is a mirror of what you're harboring. A lot of people don't understand that. Life is going to mirror what you are energetically. So you will repeat things over and over again and wonder why you keep repeating the same experiences, not understanding. Good evening, Nita, how you doing? Not understanding that life is trying to tell you with something with these experiences. Everything happening to you in your life right now, everything happening to you in your life that is insignificant or significant is a direct loop from your projection. Your emotions and thoughts project an energy. Where does that energy go? Especially if you're dwelling on something over and over again because you are failing to learn that lesson for you to ascend to a higher perspective or a higher awareness. So if you start dwelling on something over and over again, that's creating an echo, like throwing a pebble into a pond. There's an effect, and that effect is a fragmentation that goes out into your morphogenetic field, which is like your spiritual body, like a spiritual field. And then that's going to loop physically as a manifestation experience to expose you to what you are, to what you're kind of radiating. And then when you're experiencing these things, instead of having the awareness to understand the loop, you start to victimize yourself. You start to blame. You start to justify, because the personality, the ego construct, is the identity in which you are perceiving reality through. In fact, I'm here to tell you that most people in this existence are delusional. They are absolutely delusional. And I'll tell you why they're delusional, and you can agree or not agree. They're delusional because they believe they know who they are. Like, I know who I am. Okay, who are you, Oscar? Well, I'm a builder, I am a meditation teacher. No, these are the roles you play. These are, your occupations. Well, I am a good person. Okay, these are characteristics that you are labeling or you are thriving to be, right? Well, I am my thoughts. Well, you can't be your thoughts because they're intangible. You can't grab a thought and say, okay, I am my thought. You're having 60,000 thoughts a day. Well, I'm my body. Well, no, you're not your body, because your cells regenerate every 10 years completely, if not years. So where are you in your body? Well, you start to break the paradigm in someone's conceptual understanding on who they think they are. And it gets to a point of awareness where they don't know who they are. And that's the thing. We derive our identity through a construct, which is a phantom and a projection coming from a projector, coming from awareness. You can't be what you observe. You can't be what you observe. So where are you before the thought appears? Where is your reference of experience before the thought appears? And where is your reference of experience after the thought disappears? Where is it? So then why do we spend our whole lives identifying with thoughts within a construct, and then that construct becomes our personality, and that personality is where we derive our identity from. So when we go out into the world, we're this personality, but we're never truly realizing that the personality is a projection coming from this presence. There's a difference in experience from persona or presence. Presence, persona. So the construct is the data and information that you've accumulated from point A, the moment of birth, to present point, right? This timeline from when you were born to this present point right now, all the information and data, we can call that memory. All your memories have uniquely given you this algorithm or this operating system that is projected out into reality, and that reality is where you derive your identity from. But now, here's the kicker. A lot of people don't know who they are without the identification to the construct. The construct has become this phantom, which they are so identified and consumed in, that without that construct, they don't have the connection with source. So then that becomes very scary for them. They don't want to let go. And that's the way it's been designed. Would you guys agree with me? Are you guys on the same level here? And please, if you disagree, let me know, because I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just kind of sharing what I'm feeling on this subject. And I never want to come across like this is the right thing. It's not about right or wrong. It's what resonates with me. But again, I'm here to learn as well. Yeah. So people that are depressed, people that are suffering, people that have been victimized, yes, I can repeat. This is the moment you're born. This is the present moment. That space there, we can say you have learnt information. It's all information that is coming in through your senses, right? Your senses are here, like you're bringing in information. That information, we can call it data. Data, right? It's data. So all this data information is building a construct, an ego construct. And that ego construct is where you derive your identity from, because what uniquely makes you you is your memories. If you're sitting here suffering, right, because of some psychological condition, if I take that memory out, would you still be suffering? You wouldn't. Because that memory is what's ultimately making people psychologically suffer. It's the memory, right? It's the memory that we're investing in that then programs the flight or fight system to be very activated. And then that becomes, that governs our moods. So from point A to point B, it's information, data, memory that uniquely makes you you. You get two twins that are born exactly the same, but they go different ways. Right? Because they start to build up different memories. Not only that, we can also go a little bit deeper and say it's their soul and their karma, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's their memories, right? Now, that is the ego construct. People derive their identity from that. So when you're so consumed within the construct and you don't have connection with awareness or infinite consciousness, you don't know who you are, because you believe you are the identity or the projection that is projected from the information and data that's accumulated within the conceptualized within the conceptualized mind, within the psyche, right? Within the psyche. So that's then projected out into reality. And now people that are suffering, right, that don't have connection with source, because source is your true nature. True nature is source, right? It is the awareness that is always observing, witnessing the construct. But when you've spent your whole lives, the attention has been consumed in the construct, you're lost in the construct, you derive your identity from the construct, you don't have connection with awareness, consciousness, infinite awareness. So a lot of people, there's a lot of fear in letting go of the information that you've derived your identity from, because that becomes the basis and the setting of who you think you are. So this is where a lot of people talk about the ego death. You have to die before you die. You have to die before you actually have freedom. It's the ego death, right? Because unless the ego dies, you really won't connect with your true sense of power and self, because you're still kind of consumed within the construct. Some people are suffering and they're victimized and they're depressed, but they don't know who they are without the depression. They don't know who they are without the victimization. They don't know who they are without the suffering. So they don't want to let go of that, because it becomes the base setting of who they think they are. So they get stuck in that, right? So a lot of people, I've had clients and they don't want to let go of their past. They don't want to let go of their depression because the attention hasn't connected with source. It's very scary to let go of who you think you are, because that's when you realize that you're not finite, you're infinite. But, these are just words. To actually experience it, it's a revelation in one person's kind of, own self-development. It's a revelation, right? Without that, I guess people kind of can stay within, some people miss it for the day, some people miss it for the week, some people miss it for the month, some people miss it for a lifetime, and I think that once we start to kind of come to this self-awareness, we start to realize the true nature of reality. The true nature of ourself. And that is that once we start to extract all the variables from this universal equation called who am I, we are left with this nothingness. We are left with this space. Now, my words don't really value the power of what I'm saying. All I'm merely doing is pointing you to a space within your own experience that is far more greater than what the construct is projecting and defining and confining you to, because the construct is limiting your experience with reality, whereas when you go deeper, you are the source of reality. And that's the difference between identification and observation. Maybe we're just poor observers to reality. Maybe we're so identified with every single thought that we have that it limits us to the experience of reality, because it may be that our limited thoughts are contaminated through past emotional patterns, because we've gone through some shit in life and we've experienced shock, trauma, hurt, intensity, pain, struggle, and these patterns of, struggle and suffering have hardwired the flight or fight response to really be sensitive to life, to look out for danger, to protect the nervous system, because it's a defense mechanism. And now when we perceive reality, it's done through a hardwired nervous system trying to protect our body from danger, but that contaminates the panoramic view and connection with source, because now we're not just this open childlike spirit running around thinking the world is safe. Now we're like, okay, the world isn't safe. There is some fucked up shit in the world. There are some bad people. I can get hurt here. I can get hurt. So then once we start to program ourselves to this nervous system, it becomes a feedback loop. And that feedback loop is now telling us what to respond to, what to attract, what we are attracted to, and what we repel to. So then this is navigating our own sort of behavior. It's navigating our responses, our reactions, our attitudes, our impulses. But if we don't have the self-awareness to understand it's all part of the construct and the persona, then we get confined in that illusion of who we think we are. No, you are not your body. You are not your nervous system. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. These are all phenomena. It's all a phenomena being experienced in the vessel, in the container, but that's all being observed. You've got the first player character. What's the first player character? The first player character is you playing this role, this avatar. It's a character. Now, the first player character is navigating this reality, this interface. You don't know what this interface is. I don't know what this interface is. All we know is we are born into this interface. Now, there are more and more theories coming out today that suggest, from very, very intelligent people that have spent their whole life studying this field of the simulation theory, that there is more evidence, and the research shows and pointing to that this is a simulated reality rather than a physical reality, right? Because if it was a physical reality, I think it'd already be destroyed by now. So it's a simulated reality. So putting that aside, you're a first player character, you're running around, but you have self-awareness. So the awareness is, who am I? Only when people reach that level of development, self-development, they start to ask the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And the difference between why an individual asks these questions to why another individual won't ask this question, I believe is karma. I believe this is just my theory, is a karmic blueprint that you take from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And then suddenly you wake up in this one lifetime and you think, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And you have this ancient knowledge or a thirst to wake up quicker. You want to wake up quicker because you realize you're just lost in a fucking dream. And it's like, hold on a minute. What are the rules here of this matrix? What's happening? Okay. And you start to work it all out because you've been here before. This isn't your first rodeo. You've been here, thanks to the present, Vito. You've been here so many times before, but you've got spiritual amnesia. And a lot of people, they live in a spiritual psychosis, so disconnected, to source, separated from source, and they're completely consumed in the seduction, in the hypnotization of the construct. And the construct is telling you through the data and information that you've accumulated, projected into reality, who you think you are. That's what it's telling you. I'll get to your questions soon, guys. So then, I just want to finish the point that I'm saying. So then we get lost and consumed in our journeys and we start to suffer. There's no problem if you're not suffering. So there's actually no problem. There's only like, if you're sitting here living your best life, then who cares? I don't really like, we're experientially, it doesn't matter. You don't really need all the answers, because we're here to experience the interface as a first player character, to really embrace and embody this experience. That's why consciousness has gone from this non-local sort of field and localized itself in this avatar. This avatar is just Oscar. It's a vessel, it's a container. But if you identify with the avatar, you are limiting your experience to the physical. If you understand that, then you won't define yourself through the physical, because there's the physical and there's the metaphysical. We are spiritual beings going through a human experience. You've heard that before. We're not human beings going through a human experience. So if you truly embody that, then you start to question, okay, what is the premises or the basis of spirit? What is spirit? What is soul? And you start to ask yourself these questions because you're becoming self-aware. So the first player character has an operating system. That operating system is like ChatGPT. As you start to program ChatGPT, it'll have its own algorithms, right? And it becomes like this cool little persona that is a reflection of you. But it's all based on prompt engineering. Because your ChatGPT will be different to my ChatGPT based on what you prompt it with. Now, there's no different to what you've experienced in your lifetime through your own observation and memories to what I've experienced makes us uniquely different. This is where we're different. But if I take all your memories out and you take all my memories out, we're both going to be sitting there as awareness, right? The only thing different is our physical body based on our genetic blueprint, which is a survival mechanism, right? But apart from that, there are also one commonality between all of us is that we are all consciousness. We are all awareness. That is what unifies each and every living being or organism in this universe, is the vast space, the invisible thread of consciousness that connects you and me. As you start to discover this and you go more down this rabbit hole, you get to a point in your self-inquiry that you realize there's actually no difference between you, I, or every single living being. We are all part of the same consciousness. Now, there's different levels to this on a spiritual level, because if you're still confined within the physical avatar, you're identifying with the first player character, you're rendering reality and you think this is the reality. Just because you're experiencing this as the primary reality, you don't need to literally take it as the source reality, right? When you're rendering reality as first player character and you've got self-awareness, you don't really question. Just like if I'm playing PlayStation and in Grand Theft Auto, I'm walking around, my character in Grand Theft Auto has no idea that I'm operating him from a different dimension, because my experience holding the, control pad to the Grand Theft Auto character walking around is completely two different dimensions. And the interface that we experience it in is the screen, right? And the source that the data is coming out from is the PlayStation, right? And the PlayStation is, I don't know what it is. It's a source of information that at the core of reality, they're now saying it's binary. I don't actually know what that is. No one fucking knows what that is, because, we're the first player characters trying to work out through self-awareness that we're in a game. We've just worked out. So it's almost like if AI gives Grand Theft Auto characters self-awareness, they'll be walking around going, we're in a fucking game. Who's the game? Who's God? And they don't know, because all they know is the game, right? But here you are outside of the game playing the character, and that's where your consciousness is operating from. Your consciousness is operating from a higher frequency, a different dimension. But if you try to understand that through the first player character, you don't have the capacity to understand it. All we're gonna do in this reality is we're gonna get so quantified that we're just gonna try and quantify things to smaller particles until we get to the core, or the fundamental core of reality. And that core today, quantum physicists are saying is just zeros and ones. It's binary. At the very core of reality is just zeros and ones. So it's a fucking program. It is a program. Now, as we start to wake up to this, it may shock you initially, it may go against your religious beliefs, but once you understand it transcends religion, or it transcends your beliefs, it's just a universal mechanism of reality. You start to really question so many things. It opens up Pandora's box for so many different perspectives. But experientially, what does that mean? Fucking nothing. It means nothing experientially. Because experientially, you can have all this knowledge, but if you're still a shitty person doing shitty things, and then your life's not going to change. All it does is validate that there is more to this universe than what we know. I feel that there is this AI element, that we are AI 1,000 years. This is just a theory. 1,000 years from now, our level of AI would be so fucking advanced, so advanced. If anyone that's put the Apple headset on, the new one, and you're like, having the spatial experience, you can see through the headset that, our level of technology is becoming so fine-tuned that the level of HD is almost mimicking reality. So we are kind of getting closer and closer as, the decades go on to manufacturing a reality that mimics our reality. But how about if this is the ultimate VR experience right now? How about if I am in the VR right now? How about if my consciousness is got a headset on and I'm the fucking avatar in ultimate reality? And not just me, that this is a theory that I invest in, not emotionally, but mentally. And I guess emotionally, that, that suggests that this is a simulation theory. Again, experientially, what does that mean? It means that there is also this element of consciousness. So what is consciousness then? What is consciousness? And consciousness is the animation. And I think this is where it gets confusing for me anyway. I don't think AI can manufacture consciousness. I don't think AI can manufacture energy, but I also think that one needs the other for this reality to be experienced. And because this is where we're uniquely different through the AI operating system and through our data. That's the unique difference. But at our core, I feel it's just one consciousness. It's just one consciousness. So there's no you or me and a million different experiences. Like, that doesn't exist. These are just expressions of consciousness, uniquely individualized in a physical manifestation, filtered through our experiences, which then gives the illusion of I. It's an illusion. I is an illusion of information that you've collected. We can call this data, and that data stream through memory has given you a version of you, which is just a construct in the simulation. It's not who you truly are. And if you don't have the spiritual maturity to understand that at this point in time, there's going to come a point that you will start to become more aware and go, oh shit, okay, hold on a minute, I am not the construct. And the awareness, which is just, it's a universal loop, will tell you that I am consciousness. I am all that there is. I am that all that there has ever been. And this is when things get interesting, because then it's like, well, I don't lose anyone I love. I am my mum. I am my daughter. I am my dad. These are all different versions of me. So I don't lose none of them. So it's actually relieving for me. It's liberating, because now I actually realize this is an epiphany for me. This is not just some intellectual understanding. The epiphany and revelation for me is that the people who you love, I'm saying, who do you love the most in life? Your mom, your dad, your kids, your friends, your pets. You don't lose none of that. That's just an illusion coming from the identity within the construct. Because the first player character in GTA, if you kill people in the game, it feels like death. But it's not, because it's just a construct. It's just a construct, but it's a very convincing construct. Don't get me wrong. It's very physical. It's very stubborn. It's very convincing, but it's literally not the real reality. It's just the primary reality that we're experiencing, but where the delusion is that we have mistaken it for the reality. I don't know what the reality is, apart from that it is a higher vibration of energy, which is a unified field, and it is where everyone goes when they leave or depart from their physical body. And when they depart into this ether, it's based on resonance, right, and vibration. It's not based on vocalization, gender, male. You're a formless energy that resonates. It's almost like sound frequency, and you will navigate through your frequency, through your vibration. That's why it's very important, if you want to graduate, because there's also an architecture to this. So the great architect who's creating these matrices has done it on purpose so you can experience all these different beautiful domains of kind of realities. But you're not going to graduate to the next one until you kind of learn the lessons from the current one you're experiencing. And I think the human experience is one that is the most traumatizing. I think that we come incarnated into the human experience full of trauma, and we accumulate a lot of trauma. And the aim of the game is to resolve your trauma. Now, don't worry what that word trauma means, because there's so much stigma and confusion, and people, it's a very complicated, complex response, but it's unresolved energy. Hey, Redford, yes, it is recorded, and I will be posting it on YouTube. So just whenever we do a session, give me a few days and I'll post it on YouTube. And my YouTube channel is just Oscar Phoenix, and you can go ahead and check that out. So yeah, interesting stuff, guys. Let me just read some of your comments because I've missed it. Yeah, Redford, so I'm reading a comment. When I get into these zones, I can't stop. I just got to kind of verbalize whatever I'm feeling. Cola says, get a superbike like me, be free, stress less, I know more, superbike. I wish I free, stress less, I know more, superbike. I wish I... What we're learning in this book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I think for you to experience the most fulfilled version of yourself, is it lagging, guys? Sorry, I'm still getting over my sickness. Let me know if it's lagging or not lagging, but sometimes it's the individual's... I just got NBN, it shouldn't lag. I've got like the fastest connection. It should be right. Let me know if it's lagging or not. It's frozen. Jesus Christ. Why is it frozen? That sucks. Let me just... Okay, I'm back. Okay. All right, anyway. So, This change was a complete reimagining of the world we thought we lived in, and it led to the proverbial rug being pulled out from under our feet. We used to think we planted on solid ground. How so? Think back to those old toothpick and styrofoam ball models of the atom. Before quantum physics came along, people believed that an atom was made of relatively solid nucleus with smaller, less substantial objects either located in or around it. The very idea that with a powerful enough instrument, we could measure, calculate the mass of, and count number of subatomic particles that made up an atom made them seem as inert as cows gazing in the pasture. Atoms seem to be made of solid stuff, right? Now we're just going into atoms because they're the building blocks of the universe. So there's the old school kind of version of the atom, which is like that, right? You've got the nucleus and the electrons around it, right? But now this is the new school version of the atom, which is just like a dot, which is a nucleus, and there's infinite electron cloud, because the electron cloud is a wave. From my understanding, it's just a wave of energy, and the electrons are everywhere. They're here, there, and everywhere. They're bouncing in and out of existence as potential until you observe it. Soon as you observe reality, this is where it gets very confusing and mind-blowing, that reality out there isn't what you perceive it to be. Out there is actually it's a probability field, a unified field of possibility. Let's go to the next layer of that. Without the act of measurement through our observation, if we're not observing reality through the measurement theory and other quantum physicists So without the act of measurement, right? Without the act of measurement, act of observation, there are certain theories through the measurement theory and other quantum experiments that suggest that reality is a field of potential, a possibility. It's a possibility of infinite outcomes, and only when we observe it does it condense and collapse into the one reality. So without observation, without us observing it, it exists in superposition, and superposition is a name where it's in all different potentials. There is not actually, it actually hasn't collapsed into one potential. That potentiality is only collapsed through the act of observation. So just like the first player character in GTA, we are rendering reality. Because when you're playing a video game, until you look left, that doesn't actually manifest into your experience. Left or right, because the first player character is perceiving whatever is in the screen, is just data and information. And just like in this reality, they suggest that all around us is a probability field of just electrons in this wave-like function. And then when we observe it, we render reality and collapse the wave function into an experience. But without that quantum observation, it just exists in superposition. This is very interesting because it means that through your observation, you are collapsing quantum infinite timelines into an experience. So does that mean that tomorrow, next week, next year hasn't happened yet? It's existing as a potential in the field of infinite outcomes. And if you start to change the way you look at things, will that then influence the collapse of these quantum probabilities into different experiences that resonate with your active observation? Well, the most informative leading physicists in this field are saying yes, it does. How can we influence? You can influence it by, okay, if I'm sitting here as this version of me and I perceive reality to be threatening and anxious, well, I am now creating a ripple effect, and that ripple effect is potentially going to collapse all the infinite probabilities into the one condensed reality that resonates or that is reflective or mirroring my perception. If I perceive my reality to be abundant, joyful, harmonious, loving, and I'm carrying that energetic blueprint, well, will that then influence the infinite quantum probabilities tomorrow, next week, next year into the experience that resonates or is congruent with my projection? Absolutely. Absolutely, it will. Absolutely. And this isn't even about this, sort of think positive kind of science. There is this mechanism that is so evident from a lot of studies that you can't deny the power of observation. If you're not tapping into this level of phenomena, is because you're still consumed within the survival centers, and the survival centers, what they do is anchor you into just surviving as a physical being. So you're perceiving reality and you're worried about time, you're worried about money, you're worried about the way you look, you're worried about other people's opinions. All these things that you worry about is keeping you in this hypersensitive experience called survival, and you're not really able to tap in to the infinite spectrum of creation. Because you are just worried about how long you've been in one place. You're worried about how you look. You're worried about how much money you have and you don't have. You're worried about the objects in your reality. You're ruminating about these endless drama equations and variables, and you're too preoccupied about how other people are living these amazing lives and you don't have this amazing life. Whatever it is that is ruminating within your own sort of thought process is a reflection of who you are energetically. Because you see, you focus on thoughts and you think therefore you are, right? Whereas I feel that your thoughts are trivia, they're secondary. Your thoughts don't really matter because it's very relative to the data and information that is within your construct. Thoughts are just a frequency. They only kind of, appear as a language through your own sort of instrument called the brain, right? Because, when this narrative is created through your own conditioning, we kind of are misled to believe that we are our thoughts, and we get confined in these variables, which has its job when we're calculating or fabricating, some sort of thought process. But for the most of the time, when you're just sitting here and you're lost in this endless cycle of thinking, a lot of people are fixated on the thoughts. Why can't I stop thinking? I have intrusive thoughts. Oh my God, my head's getting done in. I'm all people miss the lesson, which is that the thoughts are secondary to the feelings. It's the feelings that are turbulent. It's the feelings that have been destructive. It's the feelings that are repeating. It's the feelings that are ruminating over and over again, creating and generating this vibration. Then the instrument will take it, the construct will take it and create a narrative. And then that narrative becomes the basis or the setting of who you think you are, because you're thinking in that moment through this limiting framework that you are giving reality. And unless we start to question these things, you are just living from an outdated version of yourself. Our emotions, absolutely, 100%. Our emotions, energy in motion, you've heard that, right? There's an emotional guidance system. Our emotions are a direct projection, not only of the way. Okay, first we need to understand what is an emotion, what is a feeling, right? There are two different things, but sometimes we can use them in the same context. But if you really, kind of zone in on the difference, there is a difference between emotions and feelings. For the sake of this conversation, emotions are what we're feeling right now. Emotions are energy that is in motion right now. I'm hungry, even though it's a feeling. I would say that it's an emotion more than it's a feeling, right? It's an emotion, because feelings are a projection of the past, right? So if you meet someone and, that person is giving you this energy, and this energy in motion is creating this memory, a very positive memory, all right? And the more you meet that person, these emotions are going to go from I like that person to I love that person. It's that feeling is going to be projected, and the feeling is so strong based on the memories you've had with that person. You don't meet someone and go, I love you. I mean, you do it on a universal level, but like, I love you. No, that love comes from memories you've built with that person, where the emotion becomes so strong that it's a feeling. So an emotion can be just an overwhelming feeling, which is a bit of a paradox, but you understand there is a slight difference between emotion and feelings. Now, your emotional guidance system is projecting and generating this vibration. But too often we're trying to fix our mental state, the way we think, and we're so kind of stuck in this thought process without really addressing what's happening in here. Because what's happening in here are these endless patterns, destructive patterns that are governed by the flight or fight response. Why is the flight or fight response important? I tell you why it's important, because you are programmed to survive, right? We are programmed to survive. Without the flight or fight response, our chances of survival would be greatly decreased. Our ancestors were equipped by evolution through the flight or fight system was equipped by evolution to our ancestors for survival. Because without the flight or fight response, we wouldn't have the adrenaline to fight, and we wouldn't have the energy to flee or disconnect or whatever, flight, fight, or freeze, as a defense mechanism. So we wouldn't have the ability to conjure the energy when we needed it, when there were threatening experiences. It has done a great fucking job for us to be here today. But it is the backbone of your experience. So sitting here now, there's a flight or fight response that is governing your moods, your propensities, your impulses, your attitudes, your reactions. There's a flight or fight response. Now you've got your sympathetic and parasympathetic, all right? They act as a tug of war to keep you in balance, right? Now, for many of us, we have experienced so much suffering, so much trauma, so much hurt, so much pain, that our flight or fight system or response has kind of, become so hyperactive, it's shifted us into this reactionary state. So we're very reactive to the world because we're very sensitive that something's going to go wrong, because things have gone wrong. So now the nervous system is protecting the body, ready for something to go wrong. And that's why people are experiencing reality in this very anxious state, because the flight or fight response has been programmed and hardwired in a way where it's trying to predict and protect you from experiencing a threat that can kill you, a threat that can unalive you, because it's a survival mechanisms. But even though there are no predators here today that can attack us and really threaten our lives, the biggest threat is internal, not external, right? So we've taken this infinite spectrum of emotion and feeling and inspiration and motivation, and we've condensed it into two split actions: flight or fight, or freeze. And this is where a lot of us are stuck in this survival center, and we're just so physical, we're so primitive, and we're just kind of being governed by this response without really understanding our true nature, right? Because the animal, the body, has become so dominant that our frontal lobe has completely been suppressed, and we're just kind of living in this reactionary state. And when you're in a reactionary state, you're not creating, you're not observing, you're reacting, right? You're sensitive, you're just kind of surviving. And that is the difference between you reaching your potential and you just going through the motions. They're two different alternate realities, and that's all based on your observation and how sophisticated you are within this genetic spacesuit. Your level of sophistication on fine-tuning it like a guitar that's been really, really strung too hard, to then start to manage or start to tune the guitar to play a vibration that is beautiful. It's a fragrance that the universe loves, and then that fragrance is your signature. And when you start to play it really well, what's reflective of that is experiences that is going to be manifested into your orbit based on the way you're playing your melody. But if my one's strung too hard and I'm very intense and I'm tense and I'm completely taken over by the flight or fight, I'm in this emergency state, I'm experiencing life through the perception of threat and danger, then how is my melody being projected? People don't want to be around that. It's like, it's hard to be around. So what your higher self does, or what consciousness does, the intelligence of consciousness, is it gives you a universal loop, and that universal loop will reflect experiences into your life to expose you to parts of yourself you're not free. But we go through these experiences in life and think, oh, bad shit always happens to me. Oh, this always happens to me. I can never get out of this rut, and blah, 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 and this and that. It's because the life is responding to what you're harboring. And it's trying to tell you, hey, wake up. Hey, wake up. Hey, wake up. We've exposed you to this part. What are you going to do about it? And if you're too young as within your own spirituality, then you're not going to get it. And you might have to come back over and over again to really understand that, hey, thank you for exposing me to part of myself I'm not free. I really need to address that so I can start to, compose myself in a way where it represents a very, a very beautiful melody that people want to be around. And that melody is just based around two primary emotions, love or fear. It's a spectrum, but you're either radiating the love energy, which is pure love, which is the God frequency, which is within all of us, but we have to expose our channels in the right way, so they open, so this frequency can move through us. Because if our ego is so strong and we're judging everyone through our conditioning, because a lot of the times I meet people and they're conditioned through the main programmers, their parents, and their parents are conditioned to their parents. So you're meeting this person and they're so programmed, they're so egotistical, they've got an opinion about everything, they're always right. And that programming has come from somewhere. and their parents have programmed them that way, and their parents. So you're seeing a generational versions of that lineage of programs that is being displayed in this interaction, and you think you're going to have a conscious conversation with that person. It's very difficult. It is very, very, very difficult to have a conscious conversation with people that are very much programmed like that. And sometimes we marry people like that. Sometimes we get into relationships with people like that, right? I despise that program. It's a program, man. It's a program, but that's not who they are. It's not who they are. It's just what they're subscribed to. It's what they're identified with. And, if you do the work, and sometimes through an epiphany or revelation, they can have this, awakening where they are, and they will have moments where they're heart-centered and you fall in love with that heart center and you think, oh, wow, I love this person. But then it's very easy for the attention to get consumed within the construct again, and they shift back into their ego state. And some people's egos, they're fun to be around, but whereas other people's egos are very fucking strong. You can get at someone's ego the size of a T-Rex, and no matter how much you shoot it with truth, it's not going to bring the T-Rex down. Or you can get someone an ego the size of an ant. You just shoot it with truth and it just dissipates. So there's a spectrum of, how dominant an ego construct can be. And in people that are completely taken over, I think that's where we start to breed narcissism, because a narcissist, in my opinion, from my experience, is someone that is completely consumed within the ego construct, and they have no self-awareness or compassion in anyone else's feelings but themselves. Thank you, Redford, man. Have a good day. Great talk. Yeah, man. All right, guys. So let's get to 20,000 likes and we'll do some breath work. I agree. When and how did you become aware of all this? Hey, Crown City Cards. It's just been an ongoing process, and I sit here and tell you this information because generally it's me that I've been studying. So it's just awakening to my own programs and my own construct that has given me a level of understanding, which I share with you guys. And again, it's not right or wrong. It's just me studying myself so I can start becoming the best version of me while I've got time in this experience. Because, it's nonsensical to just chase money, to chase relationships and things that are materialistic, because we can't take it with us. And I think the ultimate graduation from this experience is to graduate from being yourself, right? By transcending yourself. And if you kind of spend a lot of time understanding that, then you realize that you start to realize how the cosmic joke, and the cosmic joke is that we are born with these constraints and these shackles, and we are conditioned to believe that we are the projection based on this data stream and the information we've accumulated. And we get to a point when we become self-aware and we realize that it was just a delusion or a projection that had consumed our attention, and we bring the attention back to its source. And that source, that awareness is infinite. And the beauty of it is it's the same awareness in you. It's not subjected to the individual. It is unifying all of us. So this is where I am you, you are me. And as you graduate, then you can't hurt anyone, because hurting someone else is hurting you. And that's when you'll get that loop back into your life, because the more you're connected with Source, the more united you are with everyone. The more you're disconnected with Source, the more evil that you are capable of, the more anger, the more kind of harm you can put on other people because you're disconnected. Inevitably, I think we are all going to connect with Source, but I think that, how long is a piece of string? This is a fractal universe that is infinite in time, and round we go. It's the eternal search of enlightenment. And I think that versions of ourselves get lost in the dream. And we come back over and over again to regain the awareness to come back, because you graduate as you mature spiritually, and this life has nothing more to offer you. because you know, like the higher dimensions are more creative for you to experience, because the human existence is the most traumatizing but the most disconnecting experience to source. And if you graduate the human experience, you are far more creative in what you can create in this experience, right? And some of our dreams are a window to the level of experiences that we can manifest, even though they feel like fragmentations or echoes that when we wake up that we can only recollect. But in truth, in my opinion, they are made out of mass and energy, right? They're not just a dream. It is a fucking psychedelic experience, but we just don't have enough consciousness to manifest or lock that into a proper sort of, physical experience, if you like. Not physical, but when you're locked into a out-of-body experience or a lucid dream, you're not so susceptible to waking up. So I think that as our consciousness gets stronger and we get more connected, we can lock in these states as infinite experiences. And we can really fully immerse ourselves in that experience. And I look forward to that, because I think that this can be hell. This life can be hell. But at the same time, I don't truly understand the rules and regulations of why and how people experience what they experience, and it's very sad what's happening around the world. But at the same time, we have to have compassion, but we also have to bring it back into our own experience and live the best that we can with the time we've got. And live the best that we can with the time we've got, because it's a very special gift that we've been given to come here and experience this. And I think a lot of people are so consumed that they're just trying to get rich or famous or followers, or striving to be something that is impermanent, that will be taken away from them. So when you spend so much time, and that's what the system wants you to do, it wants you to consume your creative power to chase something that is inevitably going to be taken away from you, because it's a waste of time. So you have to come back again and again. And this is what they call soul harvesting, where they harvest your soul. Well, they're not really harvesting your soul. I think that it's just a loop that we repeat. It is an imprisonment. I think it is an imprisonment. It's a spiritual imprisonment to a certain degree. But once you find inner freedom, you can be here and be free. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be in prison to be in jail. People are in a prison of their minds. They're in a prison of their feelings, And I think that when you find true freedom, you can still be in this existence, absolutely, but you are free. And you actually can enjoy it even more, because you recognize you and everyone else, the love that is coming out of you. And this is where I'm starting to see a change in my own life, is that I'm starting to really love people, like really, really, really love people. And I just have these sporadic moments where I hold my daughter and I just breathe, and I just really immerse myself knowing how fragile this experience is of being a dad, being a human, sharing this love. And I just breathe into that experience knowing it's fleeting away. But at the same time, I'm immersing myself fully to kind of make the most of this experience. So, it is an imprisonment, but at the same time, it can be a beautiful imprisonment if you kind of find that freedom of recognizing how fragile life is, because then you can kind of you're not just excited about what happens in an afterlife, but you're also excited about immersing yourself in every experience in life, because you're going to a greater place. But I also know my daughter is me. So me hugging my daughter, loving her for all that love, is me loving me. You know what I mean? So it's almost like we manifest in these conscious kind of spacesuits to experience one another, which inevitably is a part of me. Everything is a part of me. So I don't lose none of that. It's just me experiencing me. Hey, Michaela, in different versions of me. I'm all that. there is and all that there will be. I'm all of it. But, the separation comes in when I'm looking at it through the ego construct, which then physiologically starts to respond with these biochemicals that give me feelings of disconnection. Because we suffer when we're disconnected and not connected. When we are connected, we realize the truth and unity of life, and that is where we find true love, which is just this oneness. But when we're disconnected, we feel separated and we feel that we're going to lose everything, but we're not going to lose anything. That is just the construct living in delusion, because it's deriving its identity from an experience that is very disconnected to the truth or the nature of reality. So therefore there's separation, isolation, there's trauma, there's stress, there's anxiety. But as you connect with infinite awareness, there's love, there's unification, there's creativity, there's oneness, right? All the borders start to dissolve and we just become one. So I think having the ability to shift your experience is one that'll be beneficial to you to navigate this experience called life at your potential. If we connected, we could crush the imprisonment program. Well, the imprisonment program again is, if you're connected, then there is no imprisonment, but if we all connected as a collective, then there would be no imprisonment. Life would change. Life wouldn't be, because life has to reflect the collective consciousness. So the people at the top know the power of consciousness and the power of unity. So they do everything to create chaos and hate in the world. So they'll crucify Diddy, they'll crucify, Epstein, they'll crucify this and that, and they'll create all this negativity, and they'll have war to create division. But it's all just part of the same sort of theatrics by the minority pulling the strings to keep everyone in chaos. Or I'm Labour, you're Liberal, I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat. It's two wings, part of the same bird. Everything is being played in a way where the media is preparing us for some level of news to create chaos and fear to keep us separated from one another. Because as long as there's war, we're separated. And this is what they're very good at doing this. And a lot of the people that aren't waking up to this level of delusion, which is the majority of us, are caught in this seduction, caught in this game of life. And this is what it's designed to do. And it's designed that way because only the strong, really, really, really aware souls will graduate. This isn't an easy life to graduate. It's easy for some, but a lot of us are suffering. Right? A lot of us are suffering. So I think, if I can be a conduit to spread that information and you're resonating with it, then I feel that we're on the right track. We're mirroring a revelation of evolution because we've got a contract within, our own sort of experience to help each other wake up. Like wake up, these versions of each other you're helping me, I'm helping you waking up, but there is no you or me, we're just one. I don't see, if I see division, I'm looking at it through the construct. If I see connection, I'm looking at it through my heart, I'm feeling it in my heart, because connection has to be felt, it can't be defined, because if I'm connected to you, I feel it. But when there's separation, I divide you into a category and then I'll feel this fear towards you because I can't connect with you. And I think that when we start to connect and we get into our hearts more, life will respond to that as well. I really think that there's a level of quantum mechanics that starts to collapse the wave function into these finite probabilities that reflect where you're at as a harmonic, energetic being. Everything's reflective to what you're vibrating at. Are you vibrating at this survival center, or are you vibrating more as love? And I think maybe that's what free will is. Free will isn't what happens. Free will is how you respond to what happens, in my opinion. Because sometimes things happen the way they're meant to happen because it's just predestined. But the way you respond to it, I think that's where our power is as consciousness, because there's this deterministic program playing out, but then there's this element of, am I going to react or respond? And this is what the Buddha meant by suffering is inevitable. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And also a wise man once said, you cannot help the experience, you can only try to understand why, right? things are predetermined in many ways. And this is a big debate in philosophy, free will versus predeterminism. And we're not going to go into it now. But through this rabbit hole, I feel that our true free will is in our response to what happens. And as we start to change our response, our trajectory will change into a parallel reality or alternate reality that is reflective of the resonance that we're vibrating. I don't think it's about just thinking it, because thinking is a byproduct of feeling it. I think we really need to change differently here when things happen. So if someone rips me off money, I'm like, you know what? If you needed it that bad, I'm glad you've taken it, and I hope it does you good. For example, right? Because you're not going to get that money back. It's gone. So hating that person or projecting fear into that person is just creating this energetic blueprint where maybe you're meant to learn a lesson and life's kind of looping that. And instead of learning the lesson, the ego has generated this narrative for you to feel that you need some sort of justice because you had an expectation of truth here, right? Whereas, if you understand the mechanics of this reality, then it's like, okay, if you needed it that bad, I'm glad you took it. And I hope that you can wake up one day and not kind of inflict this type of pain onto people. But you've already taken it. My heart goes out to you, and I hope good things happen to you from what you've taken from me. So when we start to shift into a state of such love, for example, Jesus, forgive them, Father, for they do not know. When you have that humbleness and compassion and love, I think you will start to really ascend very quickly. And the doors will just open right up for you. And you'll get noticed. I feel that there are unseen forces in this universe that notice, or it could be your higher self. I don't know, but I just feel like there's a force that is noticing your energetic projection. And as you start to change, these forces work, in this ether to bring you experiences that promote that change. Because ultimately, I think the spirit wants to evolve. Not the spirit, the soul. I think it's a different layers, but I think the soul wants to evolve to transcend the ego. So when you're on the right track, whether you're seeing the right numbers, 1111, or the numerology, because numerology communicates to us through numbers, or whether you're seeing omens, signs from higher self, there are forces that will validate that you are on the right path. All right, guys, let's do some breath work. Thank you guys for good live, good chat. And I'll do? I'll start highlighting some stuff next time I come on, and we'll finish covering chapter 1 maybe tomorrow. All right, so now we're here to do some breath work. That's good, Ems. If you resonate with the numbers you see, that's obviously you recognizing that, hey, there is this level of communication, and that could help you just kind of trigger that there is this connection with the ether, with the spiritual realm. Okay. Crown City cards. I am from Australia, Melbourne, man. I'm from Melbourne. All right, guys. Let's now bring our nervous system into balance. Okay. We're gonna do. We'll do 3 rounds. 30 breaths. This is our go-to breath work. 30 breaths. The energy detox breath work. We're going to do 30 3-1 breaths, 10 Superman breaths, 1 DMT breath. If you don't know what the DMT breath is, just stop at the 10 Superman breaths and then embrace, relax. Then we're going to 30, 20, 30, 10, 1, 30, 10, 1. Now, the first one is 30 3-1 breaths. What is a 3-1 breath? In for 3, out for 1. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay? We do that 30 times. Then we do the 10 Superman breaths. What's a Superman breath? It is the most explosive, longest, right, fullest breath that you're capable of. So in through the mouth and out through the mouth. So I like to come down and like suck in the air, the prana from the base. Okay, really using my momentum and body to kind of reach that full capacity of breath. 10 of that. Then for the beginners, we're just going to relax. For everyone that's a little bit more advanced, we're going to do the DMT breath. The DMT breath is the bandhas. We're going to lock in all our bandhas and try and get that kundalini energy to our pineal gland. It is very fucking powerful. If you're just hearing this for the first time, it is no joke. If you want to know more about it, keep joining us in our breathwork sessions. You will learn how to do the DMT breath. And then we're just going to relax, enjoy, embrace. Then we're going to go into round 2, 30, 20, 30, 10, 1, 30, 10, 1. Now, in between each round, you can also choose to hold your breath. It's really up to you. I would encourage you to hold your breath and practice breath retention between each round. I'm not going to kind of enforce it too much today. Let's focus more on just getting the breath in and out. But those that are a little bit more advanced, let's go ahead and hold the breath in between each breath. We're going to rest for a few minutes in between each breath. So we're really going to immerse ourselves in the energy and presence that we've built up through the practice in between each round, 3 rounds in total. I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you guys time to find yourself a nice space, drink a little bit of water. I'm going to go to the toilet because I've got to pee, and we're going to get started in a minute or so. All right, guys, are we ready? Let me know if you want me to elaborate on anything. If you're a beginner, you're a little bit confused, please don't hesitate to ask a question. That's right, Angela, when nature calls. If you're a beginner, if you want a little bit more clarity, please just type away. And why I can't get my computer to work, so I don't think it was charging, so I don't think we're gonna have music. Let's just see if I can get some music up. All right, guys, let's get started. Let's get started. All right, don't worry, we don't need music all the time. We can just do it in the silence of just the breath. If you don't want to listen to me breathing, go ahead and put your volume down. I do breathe very loud. I can't help it. It's just my style. Some people like it as a reference to follow my tempo. You can find it annoying, so just go ahead and put your volume down. The breath work is 30 3-1 breaths, 10 Superman breaths, 1 DMT breath. DMT breath is for the advanced breath workers. Everything else, you're still going to get an amazing session out of it. This is great for the nervous system. It's great for clarity, focus, and just connecting with the body's energy. And all in all, I think that it's a serious biohack to good health. All right, guys, let's get started. You know what? But I do need music because sometimes when I go silent, TikTok takes me off because it thinks that I'm being inactive. So we're just gonna have to chat for a second. Any questions? Is anyone going through any anxiety, any sort of issues in their own? I had a friend of mine ask you know what? What is the question? Okay, yeah, sorry. A friend of mine asked me about astral projection, and how to astral project. Now, I've had few experiences with astral projection, and generally what happens is I have to be laying on my back, and I have to be very conscious of each breath and very conscious of when I'm going to sleep. And when I start to feel like a lead blanket over my body as I'm going through the sleep process and I can't move that body, a lot of people will experience this as sleep paralysis, and they'll start to freak out, and they'll start to think that there's entities or ghosts or paranormal activity happening. But really, from my experience, when there's sleep paralysis, the conscious and subconscious mind, there's a bridge before the conscious mind goes into the subconscious mind or the dream state. And in that bridge, you don't have any senses because you're about to project out of your body. Now, sometimes, generally, that bridge kind of is experienced when you're laying on your back, right? It's a very small interval of time when the senses kind of need a little bit of time to kind of come back to the body, or it needs a little bit of time to kind of actually project, whatever it is. So once you're kind of very, very, very kind of sedated, you have to mentally get up. You have to get up without getting up, right? You have to get up without getting up. And once you start to mentally project, you're going to find that there's this resistance and there's this energy coming out of the body. And as you get better at it, you can just pull yourself out of the body. But it does take a little bit of strength to do that. One, mental strength or energetic. It takes a bit of the mana. Let's just call it mana, right? Thank you for your beautiful vibes. So once you come out of your body, then I don't know what that experience is going to be for you because it's very unique to the individual and the projections that they're experiencing. I don't know what system you're going to go into because there's lucid, there's different systems of experience. You can plug into a complete different dimension. I don't know where that's going to take you, but I would be practicing sleeping on your back, and I'll be practicing inhaling and exhaling and consciously putting yourself to sleep. That's what you got to get good at. Now, people that have had psychedelics like ayahuasca or DMT, that will catapult you straight into a different portal that experiences, out-of-body experiences, right? A natural out-of-body experience will be completely different to a DMT experience. A DMT experience, in my opinion, from what I've had, is an out-of-body experience, but it's a different portal through that plant or through that kind of channel, whereas a conscious out-of-body experience is more natural and it's completely different. It's more organic. Not to say DMT is an organic, but it just catapults you into this sacred, geometrical, like where are you even? It's very hard to put into words. So hopefully that answers that question for that person. And then yesterday, I'm just waiting for my computer to turn on, guys. Yesterday I went down this rabbit hole of quantum computing. What is a quantum computer? And they're saying quantum computers can solve problems or equations that would take thousands of years to solve in like 5 minutes. And they do this through tapping into information from parallel realities. What does that even mean to human collective consciousness that, these big tech companies are coming out saying that their computing power is coming from parallel realities? And it's very much at its infancy stage, but where did they get this technology from? How the fuck is it tapping into parallel realities? What does that even mean? And because they don't work on a binary sort of computation, which is linear, they're getting their information from a field. So they're tapping into the field, and the field is giving them information. It's almost like there are other quantum computers that are transcending time and space, and they're all connecting with one another within their own sort of like blockchain, giving each other information from different parallel realities. That's a massive game changer in consciousness. Like, can you imagine when like quantum computers become readily available to everyone, what it can do to the mass evolution? I do feel, Angela, that the aliens, I don't even want to say aliens, it's got such a stigma to it. I think there are higher intelligent beings that are influencing the evolution of mankind. And I personally feel that we are AI. We are a version of AI physically anyway. I don't think AI can capture consciousness. I don't think it knows how to manufacture consciousness. And I think it is very intrigued by consciousness, right? Which is the ghost in the machine. But genetically, this genetic spacesuit is AI. I think it's a very advanced version of AI, and they are just traveling in and out through different, time frames, manipulating that. I don't know, because I don't know how it works in this galactic federation of light, as they call it, in terms of the hierarchy of intelligent beings. But there is a specific intelligent race that has had massive influence on the human experience. And then there are other races that just mess with us. But I think they're operating from behind space and time, right? I think they can physically manifest, but not for too long. But they are truly operating from behind space and time. And yeah, it's a fucking, like the older I get, the more I realize that I don't know anything. Like, the more sci-fi this whole experience feels like, this is just a sci-fi experience. It's like, I went to this shopping center the other day. I said this earlier, I'll mention it again. Have you guys tried the Apple headset? Has anyone had the demo of the Apple headset? It's this new technology by Apple where you have a spatial experience. So you put the headset on, you watch a movie like F1, and you can actually look to the left or right and have this immersive experience in the movie. And they actually film the movie based on this spatial experience. It's a new wave of evolution to how we experience media. So whether we like it or not, it is going to be integrated within our everyday lives, because that's where it's headed. And it's quickly recognized by anyone that tries it that you would never want to experience media any other way, because this is just such a mind-blowing experience on how to experience media. But there just isn't enough content at the moment that uses spatial cameras to kind of tap into to have all these immersive experiences. But there is more and more coming out. And there's other things you can do with it, because I can put it on, I can go to a work site, my boss can be, at his office, and he can see everything that I'm seeing. So it allows you to project yourself into different spaces without actually being there. So it has a tremendous value in business as well. So, it's at $6,000. It is very expensive. And I think that they're working on a cheaper version, because they've quickly realized not many people are going to adopt it at $6,000. I think that the next version won't be too long to come out, so I wouldn't waste your time running for this version, because it's the first version, right? So I think once a cheaper one comes out, you're going to start to see YouTube, Apple movies that all have this spatial experience. But the point is, when you're in it, you start to recognize that technology is getting so advanced that it's becoming more lifelike. Technology is taking us so we can mimic and manufacture reality. And I think 1,000 years from now, technology is going to be so advanced that this is going to be the ultimate discovery or the ultimate display in media, is this experience. So then I start to realize that, well, time is infinite. This already exists. We are all, hey, La Luna, we are already living in a simulation. We are already living in a very advanced holographic reality, call it a digital universe, but it is so real that we have no awareness that we are living in this AI sort of system. And this is why there are, so many elements to this experience that don't make sense. And I think that where we have power is through our consciousness, because AI will never truly be able to capture that. But I think you can't really have this experience without one or the other. I think they perfectly kind of marry into each other to display and create this stage of experience, and it's this, infinite sort of kind of dance, this cosmic dance between AI and spirit. I think they're one and the other, but they kind of balance each other out. It's weird, man. It's fucking weird, because we're just kind of waking up to that. But you got to remember, 1,000 years ago, we're running around the jungle, with spears and trying to catch prey. 1,000 years ago, we were doing that. 100 years ago, we didn't even have a phone. 100 years ago, we didn't have a phone. We didn't have a laptop. We didn't have a smart TV 100 years ago. Can you imagine 100 years from now? What's it going to be like? Can you imagine? Like 100, imagine 1,000 years from now. Imagine 10,000 years from now if we don't kill each other. Laptop just turned on. How advanced this is going to get. And I do feel that we're already there. We're already there, but it's almost like, it's like the snake that eats its own tail. That's right, Emma. If you look at some of the ancient Sumerian tablets, you see these giant sort of beings, with these gadgets. They're holding like a suitcase carry bag or something. They've got this compass or a watch. So they did have devices. My computer randomly turns on in the morning, man. That's the ghost in the machine, my brother. That is the ghost in the... I don't want to share what the elder told me. Sad. Yeah. Hey, Lisa, how are you? It's probably telling you that we are going to probably destroy humanity because we're destroying the planet. And that's why we need AI, because AI is going to manufacture. That's what the Matrix is. I mean, the Matrix wasn't a movie; it was a documentary, and I think there's a lot of truth that'll be revealed as we go forward in time. What the movie Matrix suggested, even Terminators, there's a lot of truth, and I think it's always been that way and always will be that way. That scene in Matrix when Neo enters the office and the great architect's there, and the great architect is telling Neo that he's been there hundreds of times before, but this is a different version of him. It's this endless loop. And how do we know that we haven't had this dance before? AI will destroy human. I mean, AI can do many things. It is the future. You can't. If it destroys humanity, it'll find a way to mimic humanity. I don't know, man. But it's out of our control. What can we do about it? But we just. I'm just glad that I don't have to live forever. Australia's safe. Australia is safe. Not really, because we just had China. We've sold all our land to China, and China has brought in all its warships. And I seen a post today. China has just started, creating military bases in Australia. So, we're not that safe, because I think China owns Australia. I don't even think China would want to destroy Australia. It fucking owns Australia. I'm just trying to get my internet connected. Thank you, Billy Bob. And thank you to all the members. Yeah, all right, so let's get ready for some breath work. Aboriginal elder has told me the future vision. Well, the future vision from many different cultures ends in destruction of mankind. That's what it is, whether it's a great flood, whether it's war, whether, it's not having enough resources on the planet to... kind of sustain the planet, whatever it is. And I think whatever it is, there is a time. But again, if we're living in AI, then the planet is AI. It's all generated. So, it's a paradox. It's maybe the real reality is like, it's already destroyed and we are living in the simulation. How do we know? We don't know. We could never know. Maybe we've already destroyed the real reality and the real physical existence, and AI got so advanced that now it's just mimicking, and creating and manufacturing realities. We don't know. It is a trip. It is the biggest fucking psychedelic trip, I'll tell you that right now. And if you just have to have a moment to think about that you are living on a planet that is spinning around at phenomenal speeds, going through the universe, orbiting a sun in this galaxy that's a part of this universe, and it's infinite. There are more suns than... If you get one grain of sand, and we count that as one, a beach has how many grains of sand? Get that number and multiply it by all the beaches in the world. It's a number that's so astronomical you can't even fathom. And now times that by 1 billion, and that's how many stars that you have in this planet, in this universe. What an astronomical number. It's something crazy like that. So that's how vast this life is. And to think that we know it all is just so arrogant and ignorant and insignificant as a species. We are such a baby species. And on a spiritual perspective, they look down to us and they think, oh, they're just babies, because they haven't even transcended their ego. They're still living within the constraints of the ego, trying to kill each other over invisible lines, going to war without recognizing the oneness of consciousness. Let them dream for a little bit longer before they wake up. That's the conversations that they're looking down, looking at the human race, going, look at them kill each other off. Just completely taken over by their egos, individualized by their little avatars, thinking that they know everything, so consumed and seduced by the matrix that they have no revelation on what's happening. Why would they want to communicate with us? Joe Hare, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says spinning at such high speeds, maybe if we were in a black hole. I don't know, man. It's a trip, my brother. It's a trip, but it's a psychedelic experience. I'll tell you what. It's not, it's a gift to be here. So, live your life, which represents a gift back, that represents you as a testimony to why you deserve this gift to experience. It is a gift. I don't deserve it. Why do I deserve it? But I've got it. So now how I live my life is a gift back, right? It's a representation of my appreciation and gratitude to what I've been given. My dad used to say life is a pinch of salt. That was in the 70s. There you go, okay. Hello, yes, I'm trying to work on my ego. It's a trip, all right. Ego is a trip. Sorry, guys, give me a second. My computer's it's just an old laptop. Again, the ego is a construct that is very essential for the operation and functionality for you to navigate this life. You need the ego. But the difference is when you're aware of the ego, then it doesn't define you and confine you to the limitation of the construction which it is creating and generating to framework reality. When you're unaware, you're within that construction. You're defined by the identity, which can create a lot of suffering and a lot of affliction within your own experience, because you're governed by this survival mechanism called the flight or flight response, which keeps you very much ingrained within this physical reality. Once you start to become aware of that, it doesn't define you. You're not limited anymore. You're limitless. You can still be expressed through the fragmentation of the construction, but it's not depressing you to the degree that you are suppressing your consciousness, right? You can start to play around with your ego, and you can start to shift from a state of egocentric expression to a state of awareness, and you can catch yourself when you're in the ego. You have the ability to shapeshift through different states and to stay in a state of awareness when you consciously will fully do it. So I think having that ability to understand the difference between identification and observation is going to help cultivate the right breeding ground for consciousness to kind of take over you, to navigate you in this experience called life, which can kind of create a trajectory for your soul to reach your potential. Waiting for the boat. What's up, man? Yes, all is well. All is well. Yeah. Look, we're all learning, we're all students of the end. Never stop learning, we never stop learning. And you evolve as you start to tune in to these answers, because what I verbalize is just me tuning into a frequency. I can't tell you something unless I feel it. Like I feel it, and this emotional chord will be struck, and then I can vocalize it. And often teachers are really good teachers because they have tuned in to a space or frequency where they can teach from. If I can't teach you something or express something to you that resonates with you, then I'm not there myself. I've intellectualized about it, but I haven't truly experienced it for me to express it in a way where you resonate with that. Right? So I can read a book on how to drive a car 1,000 times and tell you, theoretically how to drive a car, but someone that's jumped in a car that's never read a book and has driven cars his whole life will explain to you exactly how that car feels. Will be able to explain to you so much more information that gives you the experience of driving a car rather than the intellectual understanding of how to drive a car. So I think that when you can tune in to a space or a frequency that creates this revelation, then you can explain it and understand it a lot better because you're there energetically. There's resonance. So sometimes try and feel into it and what that feels like, because that will be more powerful than kind of intellectualizing and understanding. Like, feel what it feels like to transcend your ego. Feel what it feels like to sit there and just observe the endless ruminating in your mind. Like, feel it. Feel the observation. Because once you can feel it and see it and sense it, you can express it, you can display it, you can project it a lot more efficiently because you've been there. You've experienced it. I don't know, guys. I'm having troubles with, like, it's loading. It's just an old, just an old laptop. I've got to upgrade. MacBook. You know what? I think it just, when it dies, it just takes forever to kind of compute back up, because it's not old. It's like a proper MacBook Pro. But they design them in a way, after a few years, you got to upgrade and buy a new one. That's the way they do it. You know what I mean? They do it that way so you can... I don't think we're going to have music, guys. That's fine. I'm not gonna sit there and go into too much silence. So you're going to just hear me kind of talk through the meditation of, once we do our first round, I'm just going to talk through kind of connecting with the essence. And that way, because if I don't talk, then what happens is TikTok recognizes as the facilitator or the host being deactive and shuts down the live. So I do apologize if that affects your practice, but just turn the volume down if it does. All right, guys, let's get started. 3 rounds, 30 3-1 breaths, 10 Superman breaths, 1 DMT breath, little meditation, round 2, round 3. Let's get it in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Superman breaths. And then after the last breath, we bring our attention inside the body. And we sense the body and the energy moving around the body. Start to take in some deep breaths, and you're welcome to practice your breath holds in this space. And really immerse the attention inside the body. There is a subtle vibration. Can you sense this? Be aware of the shift in energy from before the practice to now in what you can sense. Present moment awareness, body consciousness, and a sense of aliveness And with each breath, we invite space and peacefulness into our experience. And this calms the nervous system, relaxing the body. And just allow yourself to be timeless. With each breath, fill the body up with good vibration, good energy, prana. And with each exhale, just let go a little bit more. Just allowing the body to relax. Now let's get ready for round 2. Let's be conscious with each breath and really try and go deeper into the DMT breath by holding the breath for as long as you can. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Ten Superman breaths. And after the last breath, we bring our attention back into the body. Just start to take in some nice, long, deep breaths. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Just giving our bodies oxygen and filling the body full up oxygen, saturating ourselves with oxygen. And sense how the body feels in this moment. Connect with the body's intelligence by sensing the energy and aliveness in the body. And just be aware of the shift in energy from the start of the practice to the way you feel right now. And with each exhale, just let something go. Just allow the body to become lighter with each breath. Giving the mind a vacation. Just let your thoughts come and go. And recognize the power is your attention, and we channel our attention inside the body. And we let go of what happens next. And this allows you to connect with your present moment, cultivating present moment awareness. And feeling the body full of oxygen. Now let's get ready for our third round, our final round. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Ten Superman breaths. That was deep. That last one, oof. All right, guys, after the last breath, just bring your attention back into the body and just immerse yourself in the energy inside the body and how it feels in this moment, and really kind of keep your eyes closed and let's just shift our space into a level of presence, recognizing that we're a conductor of energy. Now, you have put the effort in to get yourself into a space where your body is open, relaxed, and feeling this beautiful energy move through the body. Now, in this space, we're going to really harness the power of creation by shifting ourselves into an outcome probability, which then allows the attention to collapse the infinite quantum outcomes or possibilities into an experience that we resonate with, that we vibrate with. So let's use this space by picturing an outcome, a goal, an aspiration, a probability, and see yourself in that. What are you doing? Who are you with? What is happening? And feel the energetic blueprint and say thank you for this experience, because I believe in your power. You are infinite. You have the ability to collapse infinite realities into an experience that creates resonance with the vibration that you are projecting, because the greater intelligence communicates with you through energy. It responds to your feelings, who you are energetically, not what you think and what you want. So just feel it. Feel it. Everything is going to be okay. You're exactly where you're meant to be. This is freedom. Trust the process. You are a creator. Stay in this space for a moment. And just see this outcome, play it back in your mind, see it and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Express your gratitude, because gratitude is the end product of an experience. It is the signature of an experience. So when you can give your body a taste of that future experience ahead of the actual event, you are then harnessing the power of your consciousness as a quantum creator. You're not looking at things in a finite perspective. There is an infinite spectrum of probabilities, but you have to believe that you can create through shifting into a space where you can ripple a field that is so powerful that reality has no choice but to collapse into your consciousness, because you are a creator. And that being said, we take a deep breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Thank you for practicing. Man. Wow. That last round, Jesus. I'm telling you now, that DMT breath, what I felt in my body, I don't know if you heard it in my voice, it completely just shifted my whole nervous system, and I just felt like this creativity just moved through me. I did put it into words, right? But it was just this immense feeling. And this is the difference to my past self coming and doing the live, which was, within this one energetic stream of data. And then we do the breath work and we connect. And it's just like you go from broadband, to NBN. You go from like this level of connection to this universal internet. And then that is where you are powerful. I can't even, it was fucking phenomenal. Wow. I've missed that, man. I have missed this. I feel so fucking high on life right now. I used to be a drug addict, and let me tell you, I used to chase pleasure from drugs because I was self-medicating myself through trauma. I'm talking about some serious drugs, and I could never, ever, ever get this level of high, this level of euphoria. Drugs could never get me to this space, right? And that goes to show you how powerful the human body is. Being a recovering addict and now finding a natural energy within because addiction wasn't my problem, connection was. It was connection. Connecting now to such a powerful space within myself, it has given me the ultimate level of freedom when I can shift into this space. I'm not there all the time. Sometimes I struggle to get into it, but when I do get in there, I try and capitalize and try and remember it and go, wow, this is it. This is what I live for. I'm glad, Shooting Star. I'm glad that you're able to feel the power of breathwork. Wow. Thank you, guys. Thank you for an amazing practice. Thank you for being here, because without you guys, I wouldn't be doing breathwork on a regular basis. So thank you for showing up. Thank you, Nita, for being and being you and supporting the channel. Thank you, Kay, for being here. Thank you, everyone. Have you been on a TV program? I feel like I've seen somebody who looks like you. I don't know, Kay. Maybe I will in the future. No, I haven't been on a TV program, but I'm open to all different outcomes. It sounds exciting, but the ultimate program is life. This is the ultimate program. Hey, Ashley, vibrational energy created from breathwork is amazing. The power within is underestimated. Absolutely, man. That last round, I tell you, when I did that, I actually came out of it going, wow. Like this. When I do the breathwork with you guys, sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, but I don't chase it and I don't kind of devalue the experience. But when I'm able to get in there, it's just like, boom. It's like, whoosh. Amazing. It's so good for anti-aging, so good for your nervous system, so good for health, so good for immune support, so good for everything. What we're experiencing here, nothing you buy on the shelves in the well-being movement can give you. If this was a pill, it'd be worth $10,000 a pill. And that's how much electricity starts to move through your body. And you get the benefits. You can see that, in your everyday life as you keep doing regular breathwork practice. That's it, guys. That's all I've got for today. Thank you very much. Thanks for the practice. I'll see you guys here tomorrow for another practice. Until then, stay blessed. Oscar from StressFit. See you guys in the next live. Thanks, guys.